Heroes of the Storm maps, and we're gonna try our very best to make this accessible to new people. So get ready, and don't forget, on top of all of these neat mechanics that we're gonna see utilized on this map, there's also a skull in the very middle.
The neatest mechanic
of all. The neatest part of all is that there is a screaming skull.
You have to watch out in that mouth area, because if you get surrounded in there, your army gets eaten.
This map is metal, my friends. All right, guys, game number 1. Let's do this.
Fight. KT Giga Internet, ASL Season 4.
Gotta make sure I go. I was wrong, I can tell, but the heart can be blind and frozen. Now I live with the pain every night, every day, as I read those letters you
wrote. With new remastered graphics, this is so sick.
Yes, indeed.
Now here's a question, since we're starting out here at the ASL and then remastered. Do we want to do intros every time? Do we need to do it? Do we want to have something different?
It's all best of 1. So it's like, okay, so we have, Baxter, he's a Zerg player, and Sky, he's our Protoss player.
I guess we also don't have like a name that leads in. So.
It looks like they might just be using the overlay that you get in Observer mode, so a lot of our viewers won't be able to read Korean, so maybe we can just let them know. Those are just their actual names.
Yeah.
And actually, Sky has a really sick name. His name literally is the word sky in Korean, Hano. Like his family name is Ha, and then just as their first name they gave him No. So his name is Hano, which is sky.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Now, we saw this just very briefly, but you might have noticed there was an egg on the map that was passed by where the pylon was planted. So what that is for is that egg never hatches, okay? It's not like there's going to be a lurker popping out there or something weird like that.
Zerg map.
Yeah, it's just, but that egg can be destroyed. Now, it takes a long time to kill an egg in Brood War, but this is essentially like a mini destructible rock. In fact, I wouldn't even, when you think about it with Blizzard, they could always implement something that doesn't look like that but has the same feature. It's just not an egg.
This is cooler, though.
For me, I always thought it was so cool that people were figuring this stuff out with the map editor, right?
Yes.
So, I think we're going to see Pylon Gateway here. Am I wrong about this?
No, I think...
no, Pylon Forge, I'm sorry.
So, but again, about the eggs, there's a lot of eggs on this map. Now, those ones in particular at the natural, that just kind of makes it interesting. It's there as a part of the terrain, but it is a destructible part of the terrain.
Except that workers can right-click through it.
That is
correct. Go on minerals.
That is correct.
This is one of the most important mechanics for those of you guys trying to learn Brood War. You have to understand that when you right-click a worker on a mineral patch, that it can see. Okay?
Yes.
That it can see. It will move through other units, and the egg counts as a unit. So you can have this completely walled off in a very tight, clean wall-in, and your probes can go in and out, and Zerglings cannot.
Yeah, and now there are expansions that you can get to on this map that are kind of like islands because they have eggs blocking the path.
Right.
So you can just send like a probe or a drone or whatever through there. So that's the part of the map that becomes really, really interesting. And because of that, for instance, it's very easy to get 3 bases on this map for anybody.
Yeah.
And 3 gases on top of that, just to make it perfectly clear, because that makes a big difference in some of these matchups. To get 3 gases as a Zerg player, for instance, against Terran, with such an easy cost as we have here on Gold Rush, is a really good thing for Zerg, because that's like basically the meta right now on most maps is just like, don't let Zerg get a 3rd gas, and it's like the Zerg just kind of dies if you succeed. But here you will not.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to be very important for a lot of our Zerg players here. Now, I believe this does not wall in at the top. Again, this is a Brood War map, so it's very hard to tell. I want you guys to know.
Yeah, that's not a full wall. Like, there is a hole there. That's why the
but I think that probes can't go through there and zealots can't, but lings can. Is how that works. I believe, just on a first glance here, guys, and just there's so many different wall-ins you can do at every entrance on every map.
Yeah.
So a lot of this we kind of have to play by here. Now, here's the 2 gases. Now, note, see, with the minerals there, he can right-click through. And this allows you to actually move through the entire map, essentially.
Yeah.
with a worker, and you could try to sneak in there and get a scout off.
Now, eggs don't show in Fog of War, that's why you didn't see that there. Now, this is also very important because he lost his probe right off the bat. If you lose your probe immediately to a Zerg as a Protoss, a lot of times that just forces you to make mass cannons, because if you don't, they can hit you 3-hatch Hydra and you will just die. Now, because of the way that this map is made, he can actually go this back route, and Zerglings can't really stop him. He can get right in there, and here he sees that this is a pretty quick layer coming up, and doesn't see any Hydralisk Den as of yet.
It seems like on some level this map is kind of like a response to Outsider.
Yes, it's like a better looking Outsider.
It's a cleaner Outsider where Protoss can still try to scout.
Agree.
And possibly a gas is a little bit easier. So that was a great scout by our Protoss player, and now it's going to be up to the Zerg, having already been spotted with how many hatches he has and layers, to choose the tech, and it's going to be Spire.
Yeah, this is not a very big surprise to be going into the Spire. A lot of times as Zerg, you'll just make like 4 Scourge and try to hunt down some Corsair and go into Hydras after that. Of course, if you end up hitting Corsairs, it can snowball out of control pretty quickly for the Protoss player. But look, this is a great scout. He sees the Spire making. He has a ton of information, and definitely has to be feeling good about that.
This is super awkward for the Zerg. Any Zerg player will tell you the moment that their tech is spotted, like when it's far along enough that you probably don't want to cancel, you know? Protoss knowing that is just it's a very uncomfortable moment. So we see the Star gate up here, and he's making Corsairs. I believe he's getting +1 attack at his forge. I think he should be if he's not already.
If he's not already, then he will be really soon.
Yeah, okay, so he's getting it now. And it looks like he might be pushing out with Zealot legs and Corsairs, which is a perfectly reasonable response if your opponent is simply going for Spire with a bunch of legs on the ground. I mean,
it's like if you don't get +1 Zealots with legs, then you have no mobility, you have no attack potential. And if you don't get Corsairs, you will lose to Mutalisks. So this is just about as standard as you can get as a Protoss player.
So the Lings are out here to make sure that the Protoss doesn't just slip out without being punished for it. And the Corsairs are going to move around the map. Now, this is always a little bit tricky when the Spire's about to finish, is do I try to scout and see if there's any new tech, or do I try to get stray Overlords on the map? And in this case, he's going to get this Overlord down here. He may want to back up, though, in case a Scourge flies into him.
Yeah, he does have to be very careful about that. If Scourge catch any of your first Corsairs, it is such a big deal. If they did choose to go Mutas and they catch that Corsair, the game can just end at that point.
Oh, yeah, and also Protoss is stuck back at home for a while now. Yeah. This is a little bit almost crazy ambitious here for Sky, because this Scourge, I don't know if he can micro out of this corner. Here we go.
Well, if he moves it just right, you can glitch Scourge quite a bit. Okay, it only gets hit by 1, and he can get home, I believe, with this.
No. I think the Scourge can actually just barely catch him.
It looks like Scourge are going to flank him, which is really nice. If he can actually flank that just right. He sees one of them incoming, so I think he can just get in its path.
Boom! Oh!
That was a
misstep by the Zerg.
Beautiful switch. Like, if you take very sharp angles against Scourge, there are ways to make them glitch out. Unfortunately, he does still get caught. Good moves there by Baxter.
Yeah, I want to emphasize this just for the people that are from StarCraft 2 that might not be familiar with this. This is not a game where you right-click on something and it makes a perfect beeline. So a lot of times you see Scourge coming at that Corsair, you're essentially trying to get the trajectory right to completely intercept that Corsair, which means some of these small skirmishes that would be otherwise basic or actually get pretty complex. Now, Zerg seems to have a lot of Lings and Hydras, and I actually don't know. I think this Protoss needed to have more Zealots at this point in time. I don't know if he had enough gateways down there.
Well, he was putting on some pressure there, but doesn't really have enough Zealots to do very much. Turns around, battles the Lings when he can.
Sometimes one of the best things you can do is try to go around the Hydras here. Now, the real threat, though, is that if the Hydras just start to pick a fight up here, and Storm's not done yet, the cannons can all be gunned down, and then Protoss just dies. And this happens a lot more to Protoss players than I think a lot of people would realize, even at the highest level. And, you know, the angling here, because that egg wasn't destroyed, the Zealots can't really get out and fight. The angle's not really that great, and the cannons are eventually going to be picked off here as well if he's not careful. Now, the Zealots have also run around, and we see this coming up here now, although I'm not sure if this is going to do enough damage.
Yeah, he's going to be able to pick off a few Hydras here. They trade pretty well like that. Some of the probes went down. Oh, God, he's going to lose a High Templar as well. So continues to push forward here with these Hydralisks. It was almost a solid hold coming out of Sky, but this push from Baxter doing tons of damage now.
Now he just has to dodge a few storms. That was a really good storm. Really nicely done.
Oh, he actually morphed the wrong 2 High Templars there.
Oh, did he
only
really?
stormed twice, and he morphed one High Templars that had a storm.
Now, Zerg has basically played this perfectly. He drove out the Corsairs and massed up enough Hydras that Protoss was completely caught off guard. I think there was something wrong with the Protoss' build here. It just did not seem like he had anywhere near enough for just a lot of Hydras.
Yeah, he only made a couple Corsairs as well, which is kind of interesting because, you know, when you see these really low number of Corsairs, you would think that he would have that a little bit quicker, but not ready for this Hydralisk bust, and the amount of damage that Baxter's doing is significant.
Right. Now he's hitting the gateways up here at the front. And I think he might be able to actually go for a dive in here. Again, guys, StarCraft 1 cannons are very brittle. They do a lot of damage, but they die very fast if they're under a direct attack. You need to have stuff in the front of them. And it looks like we're just getting to the point where Protoss' defenses have thinned out enough. I think the Hydras can march over them. What do we have going across the map? Is that Corsairs moving out on the map?
Yeah, that is Corsairs.
So that's not going to do anything.
It's not doing anything.
So we're going to see GG momentarily. And it looks like Sky has managed to 1-0 Baxter, moving him on to the winners match.
Or the other way around. But,
excuse me, that's what I meant.
More Hydras coming in. That's it. GG is called. And